Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS that rule well. Peace, love, and salutation to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children that they're keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Okay, I just want to go into this lesson today. I was listening to a couple of different brothers, actually two different brothers. One of them was the head of the GMS Mississippi Camp, Elder Zahab, whose YouTube channel is Spirit Wind Levi. Listened to his live stream this morning that he made, and then it was another brother. I can't remember his YouTube handle name now, but both of them was going into basically the modern woman and how the era of the modern woman, they're now about to receive their consequences. You know, ultimately they're about to receive the consequences of the lifestyle that they've been living and how they've been carrying themselves, you know, and how it's not going to benefit them anymore because of the shift that's happening in the earth. And as it say in Isaiah 32, starting at 9, rise up, you women at ease. And I just wanted to come from the standpoint, because there was a couple points that both of the brothers made, but the brother from the Mississippi camp, he started speaking on certain instances that I have experienced lately, but I want to say my most recent experience with it, Eve, and I can understand exactly where he was coming from. But a lot of these women, they're so caught up on their career, trying to get a degree, and even long before I heard this video, I had already considered this, that these women, especially when they in school or whatever the case may be, or going back to school, whatever the case may be, they're so focused on trying to get a degree because they think that that's where their security is going to come from. They think that that's what's going to be able to provide them the life that they want to live. Meanwhile, the whole time they had a man that was interested into them, and us being, men being in this truth, being having the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that makes us extremely, extremely valuable, which they see it, but they don't understand it, and they're still caught up in this world. But, for a man to still have interest in them, that gives them a advantage over the mass majority of women. But because they're so caught up, they don't understand, and they've ultimately never been trained up and taught up to be a wife, because they have every opportunity. And I'm going into the mass majority of these women that actually get attention from certain men, men that at least understand how a woman that's carrying herself in a way that would, make her an option. I ain't talking about just any woman, because the mass majority of these women, men don't want to get with them just to make them a wife or, potentially deal with them. They just want to get what they're going to get and leave. But I'm talking about the women that at least has a chance to become an option, or has the chance to at least deal with the man. The mass majority of them never been, probably like 90% of them never grew up seeing a stable home, a stable, dynamic between husband and wife, and father and mother, saying both of them is very important, husband and wife and father and mother, because that dynamic is what she's supposed to become. She's supposed to become a wife and a mother, a wife first, then a mother. But they never grew up seeing that dynamic, and they have never been taught that that's the dynamic that they should strive for. They only heard it. And the point I want to make is these women think that being a wife is easy. They think that they can just, I could just be a wife. 'Cause they always talk about marriage. That's something I always, realize, that these women always talk about getting married or marriage, but they don't have the mindset or capabilities to be a wife. And I'm not saying they don't know how to cook or clean or this and that and the third, because you might have some women that can cook, and you might have some women that can clean and wash your clothes this, that, and the third. They can do some of the physical, they have some of the physical capabilities, but it's still a whole mindset. Becoming a wife is a job. And on any job, you have to learn how to do the job. You have to have the skills, but you also have to have the mindset too. You don't just go to a job and just do it without having a mindset. And that's what a lot of these women lack. And they think that being a wife is easy. Because think about it. Matter of fact, let me and I'm surprised this switched back to English because I had my phone in Spanish. Let's look up the divorce rate. So it says, and this is 2020. Okay, here it is right here. ModernFamilyLaw.com, current U.S. divorce rate. As of 2024, the U.S. divorce rate remains between 40% to 50% for first marriages, though this number has been steadily declining over the past few decades. In fact, according to the CDC, the divorce rate in 2021 was 2.5 divorces per 1,000 people, significantly down from earlier years. This shift can be attributed to changing social norms and increasing the age at which people first marry and better relationship education. And then it says marriage duration before divorce on average. A marriage that ends divorce lasts 8 years. It says in second marriages and divorce. Now I'm gonna read this one. The likelihood of divorce increases with subsequent marriages. Around 60 to 67% of second marriages end in divorce compared to 40 to 50% of first marriages. This trend is even more pronounced for third marriages where the divorce rate exceeds 70%. And most of this is on women. Women are the ones divorcing. Women are the ones filing for the main ones filing for divorce. Which let me get that too. I didn't even mean to click on that. But it says, what is the number one cause of divorce? Alarmingly, 75% of respondents in a long-term study cited the lack of commitment as the leading cause of divorce. Infidelity, unfaithfulness is the leading cause of divorcement, whether through physical or emotional betrayal. And guess what? It's from the women. It's from the women. Now let's see the one above it, who initiates 90% of the divorces. Women. Whether accepted or not, there is one fact that cannot be disputed, and that is that women initiate divorce more often than men on average. Numerous studies have shown this fact, and nearly 70% of divorce are initiated by women. Now I said 70% of divorces are initiated by women. They are the main ones who leave their men. And the divorce rate in America is extremely, extremely high. It's higher than what they're telling us, So, let me see. Now I'm gonna look up one more thing. And look at this. Divorce.com. U.S. divorce. What is the rate of marriage in the U.S.? The marriage rate in the U.S. rose to 6.2 in 2022, despite having declined for the many years prior. Dang, I had just I probably should have just read it from the main. Here it is again. What is the most common reason for divorce? Lack of commitment, 75%. Infidelity, relationships outside of the marriage, meaning adultery. And it's mainly women. And then they'll turn around and be the same ones to leave you. It says conflict, irreconcilable differences. Marrying too young is not an issue. Money issues, that's an issue. Communication problems. inability to have children, domestic violence, all of these. But I'm looking for demographics. I don't know what is. Let me see. It might have been at the top. One second, Salakia. Who files for divorce more, which we already read that we know is women. Here we go. Percentages of divorced women across the U.S. There is a consistent trend regarding marriage and divorce rates among women across the U.S. For example, black women usually display the lowest marriage probability and the highest divorce rate. At the same time, Asian women get married at a higher rate and are less likely to get divorced. These are the following percentages of the divorced women across the United States. Now look who's leading. The so-called black woman. It says African Americans, or so-called black women, you Israelite women of the southern kingdom, southern tribes, 33%. Hispanic women, 22%. White, Edomite women, 19%. Asian women, 11%. And guess what? All these percentages that they giving is much higher. It's way much higher than what they telling us. They ain't gonna give you the truth, They ain't gonna give you the full truth, but it's way higher. But getting all that and saying all that to say this, going back to the main point, these women were not brought up with the mindset on how to be a wife. So these women think that they're gonna be able to just snap into being a wife when that time comes, this, that, and the third. It don't work that way. You may, and like I said, these women, they may know how to cook a little bit. They may know how to clean. They can, I will give them that. Cook, clean, and wash. But that does not make you a wife, because that comes with a mindset that America has demonized. It comes with a mindset that these women were not told to value, and they don't. So they think that during that time, and this video is really to just put in the mindset of brothers to beware of these women, because they're going to see, like the scriptures say, they're going to see that you have something that the rest of these people don't, both men and women. And that's that stable mind, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and that stable mind, as Isaiah 33:6 say. And they're going to get with you. They're going to want to get with you. And they're going to come with all matter, because they're going to be trying to convince you that they will be able to do what they need to do. But really, all they want to do is survive. They're not really trying to be the type of woman they're not trying to be a wife. Being a wife comes with being submissive. And that's something that women, you think about it, they've had, and I'm going to get a couple scriptures too. I know I'm misspeaking. These women have been taught and trained years on years to value their self and their opinion first, not to be humble and be submissive and dismiss their opinions and how they feel and just strictly listen to the man. They have not been taught that. And it's years upon years. You don't just snap away from that. To control their mouth, that's something they have to work on. Like us men, we had to work on ourselves to be acceptable to Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. These women, they have to work on themselves in order to be acceptable unto you and to Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. So let me get a couple scriptures. This is Proverbs 22:6, and I'm gonna read this in the AMP. Train up a child in the way he should go, teaching him to seek the Most High's wisdom and will for his abilities and talents. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Now, again, I just said, these women have not been trained up on how to be a wife. They have not been taught. And for the most part, they have not seen that example of a husband and wife, father and mother combination growing up. Now, the very few sisters that's of the elect, whether they seen that dynamic or not, or even had a chance to experience it or not, they ultimately their mindset is changing, and they understand that in order to be a wife of the future one of the future leaders of the earth, they have to completely change. They have to work on themselves. And that's what they're doing, whether they have a husband or not. Yahweh Shem Yahushua is constantly bringing things out of them that they need to work on. And he put, different examples of different situations or cause certain things to be said to them to trigger those emotions or to trigger those responses that eventually they're going to have to reflect on and correct. Because when the Lord does give them the man that they so that they need in order for salvation, and ultimately he gives them their husband, then they will be able to be a suitable wife for him, because the things that they needed to work on, they would be them worked on, But these other women, they're not doing it. They're not trying to work on themselves and fix their mindset, and behavior. And in most cases actually, trying to learn the necessary skills that makes them more valuable as well. Being able to cook, clean, take care of a man, and do his every request without having some type of attitude, that takes time and patience. That ain't nothing you can just snap into. But again, these women, they always talk about they want to be married or they not gonna have no kids until marriage. Well, a lot. Just think about all these women who had kids outside of marriage. They wasn't on the track to be married. They wasn't on track. And this is not to bash any woman that has a child that's not married or anything like that. This is just telling the truth, because the times we're coming into, a lot of women are not going to be picked. We talk about Isaiah 4:1, most definitely. But those are only going to be for women that the Lord is going to allow to be saved. It's more women that's not going to be saved. Just like it's, Zechariah 13. It says 2/3 of Israel will be destroyed and only 1/3 will be saved. That's over here in America. So and it's going to be even the same with Isaiah 4:1. It's going to be a lot of women being rejected than that be actually wiped up. But that's not to say that there won't be a 7 women to 1 man, as the scriptures say it. That's not taken away from that at all. But it's going to be a lot of women that don't make the cut. And these are some of the reasons why. So from there, I'm going to get another one. This is Titus chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 1. I'm going to read this in the AMP. But as for you, teach the things which are agreeable with sound doctrine, which produces men and women of good character, whose lifestyle identifies them as true, which is say Christians, but followers of Yahweh Shai. And it's going to go into how that looks for men and women. It says, verse 2, older men are to be temperate, dignified, sensible, sound in faith, in love, in steadfastness, Yahweh Shai like in character. Now, we just read where it said, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he is not depart. That was the KJV version. But if the older men are like this, they're supposed to train the younger men to be in this same mindset. And this is how we are supposed to be. This is how men are supposed to be. And older doesn't always, in today's sense, it doesn't mean literally older, but just spirit. It can be physically older, but also too older in spirit. I mean, we have a wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because there's a lot of brothers that's in this truth who are young, like myself, but we are extremely wise, and we can teach those that are both older or younger than us. So it's not always literally older men, but for the most part, it's supposed to be the older generation teaching and training up the younger generation to be like this. Now that's for men. Now here's for women, verse 3. Older women similarly are to be reverent in their behavior. Now I'm gonna get a couple of scriptures. Get a couple of definitions before I keep going. Reverent, feeling or showing deep and solemn respect. Respect for who? For their husbands. So it says older women are to be reverent, which means to show and express deep respect and deep and solemn respect for their husbands in their behavior, how they carry themselves. This all starts with a mindset, because once your mind is right, the body follows. It says, not malicious gossips, nor addicted to much wine, as we see the modern day woman, especially the nightlife woman. The nightlife women, For women who love that nightlife, they are addicted to going out and drinking. And that's why they always be trying to find men who's going to fund their lifestyle, who's going to pay for them to get drinks. And that's why that's what the bars and these clubs are set up for. That's what the brother in the second video I was watching, that's what he was bringing out. These nightclubs, men are not going no more, and women are mad about it because they don't have no one to fund their lifestyle, because these women, again, these clubs allow them to get in for free, they get to be there and sit and go wherever they please for free, and they got men paying for their drinks, so it's fun to them. It's fun for them. It's a life to enjoy for them. While the man, he got to pay to get in. He got to pay for a section. He got to pay for the drinks. If he trying to take a woman home, he got to make sure he got to buy clothes. He got to do all these things to oppress a woman. But these women, they get to live and enjoy this lavish lifestyle where everybody's taking care of them and they feel entitled. All of that is over. So not addicted to much wine, teaching what is right and good, so that they may encourage the young women to tenderly love their husbands and their children, to be sensible, pure makers of a home, or homemakers, where the Most High is honored, good-natured, being subject to their own husbands, so that the word of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua will not be dishonored. So that was a lot to take in. So verse 4 again, it said that they may encourage the young women to tenderly love their husbands and their children, training up a child in the way they should go, or teaching people how to serve Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. This is how women are supposed to serve Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. This is how women are supposed to, this is what makes a woman wife material. When they have this mindset to love their husbands tenderly. Let's look up tenderly. It's a tenderly love their husbands. Tenderly, with gentleness, kindness, and affection. That's what it's going into. It even says softly in the second definition. But with gentleness, kindness, and affection. These women don't know how to do that. And that's nothing that you can just snap into. That's something that takes time. That takes time to that's a skill that takes time, So it's encourage women, the young women, to tenderly love their husbands and their children. And how do we know that this is something that women just can't snap into? Because we see the divorce rates, and it's initiated by women. I guarantee it's not even by men. A lot of times the men really don't even really want to be in a relationship with the woman, but he'll stay there just to try to make things work. Whatever the case may be, especially if they got kids, for some cases. But when we went into the reasons why, first thing, infidelity, lack of commitment, which going into adultery. And that's the mass majority of these women. And that doesn't show that they love their husbands. That's showing that they extremely hate their husbands, and they extremely hate Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, because that's against his will, So it says, so that they may encourage the young women to tenderly love their husbands and their children. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The children, like I said, husband and wife, father and mother. These women do not love their children like they supposed to, And that's not to say that they don't have no emotional attachment to the child or nothing. But if you truly understood the dynamic that Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua set up, you for the most part, they wouldn't be trying to keep their kids away from their father. They wouldn't be putting the father on child support. They wouldn't try to destroy the relationship between the father and the child. And ultimately, they would be trying to make the situation work so that the child can grow up in the dynamic that's healthy for it to be reproduced, so that it can get the dynamic of husband and wife, father and mother. These women don't do that. They don't think like that. And again, this is both for situations where women don't have children and women that do. And it's a proven fact that you can't just snap into something. It's just like for a test. You don't just show up for a test and say and think you know the answers, but you never studied. You heard about the topic, okay? You talked about it amongst people. It's like you talked about something with people that you never studied. So you listening to them give information about it, but you didn't study it yourself, and now you have to take the test for it. And you don't know none of the answers because the questions are all different from what you talked about with them. They have a general concept of it, but they didn't even have the answers. That's what these women are like. They hear about people talking about wife material and this, that, and the third, and they think it's just cooking, cleaning, and washing, and then they barely do that. Especially for the women that's in college, because the college, that comes with a whole college life. Those women are not thinking about being wives. And for the women that are in college, and they may have their own place, may not stay on campus, they're not cooking. They're not cooking for themselves, or they're not trying to perfect their skills so that when they do get with a man, he would greatly appreciate her level of expertise when it comes to doing things that a wife's supposed to do. So verse 5, to be sensible. And I'm going to read this in the KJV as well, but it says to be sensible. That's, let's get that. It says of a statement, course of action chosen in accordance with wisdom or prudence, likely to be of benefit. Of a person possessing or displaying prudence, practical and functional rather than decorative, readily perceived, appreciable, able to notice or appreciate, not unaware of. Right, sensible. So going into her, because a lot of women move off of emotions as well. Because I like the one that say it says of an object. Practical and functional is still the same thing. They understand their purpose instead of being all emotional about things. A lot of women are not designed to make the type of decisions that men are destined to make. They're not designed to make those type of decisions. They move off emotions. And a lot of times when men try to make decisions or try to correct women on certain matters, they don't understand it. And those emotions get in the way. But like it said for the first one, it says, first and second one, it chosen in accordance with wisdom or prudence, likely to be of benefit with wisdom or prudence. Another thing is these women are supposed to understand that the man, he is the head. The Lord designed us men to be able to handle situations that you women cannot handle. And a lot of that be decision making as well. But again, a lot of women, they don't see it that way. They don't understand that. So to be sensible, pure, makers of a home or homemakers or home bodies, all the same thing, all doing the same thing. Women staying at home because that's where you belong. If a man builds the house, a woman is supposed to make the house a home. That's where you need to be. And that's where you are safest at. If a man knows you're at the house, even if he's out there working, I mean, of course, in modern day society, we both have to work. But outside of doing the things that you need to do, if you at home, he ain't got to worry about making sure that you safe. Your kids don't have to worry about this, that, and the third, because he ain't got to worry about that because he know you're going to be home taking care of them. And he's going to come home to support and do his part. But like I said, where the Most High is honored, because if he's a man of Yahweh Ba'Shem Abishai, a man of the Lord, he's going to honor the Heavenly Father, and he's going to make sure that his household is doing the same thing. And Yahweh Ba'Shem Abishai is going to bless the household. He's going to bless you with everything that you need, and things that you want. That's how it's supposed to be. Women do not see it that way. And there is no way that women would tap into that in the time of Jacob's trouble. Only the women that Yahweh Ba'Shem Abishai has deemed or has chosen to be saved will be able to have that mindset. The vast majority won't. So good-natured, being subject to their own husbands, which is a big one. This is a huge one because women will be more obedient to other men than their own husbands. which is another reason for divorcement. They ought to add that on there. Women are more obedient to other men than their husbands. And I was even scrolling on YouTube, and you know how I come across all different types of videos and different things. And I'm subscribed to a lot of, stoic channels too. And on one of those channels, it had said something. It was I didn't watch the video, but I know this to be a fact because I see it in my job a lot. But married women, it said why married women are the easiest, or 7 reasons why married women are the easiest. And I'm trying to figure, I'm looking at it and I'm like, I didn't watch the video, but I already know some of those reasons. And I see this at my job so much. These people and these women are married and they got whole work husbands, or they have boyfriends, men they deal with outside of their marriage, or men they want to deal with outside of their marriage. And it's extremely wicked. That's why even with that article, or those different, articles and those different things that we pulled up, infidelity and lack of commitment is number one. That's 100% true. And these women are married, not even just got a man. These women are married according to America's laws. But, and they will do things that they should only do for their husbands, all manner of things. But the fact is, the scriptures tell that women, they're supposed to be subject to their own husbands. Women are not going to be able to just tap into all, because they're not even going to know about all these things. Even if women don't read the scriptures or don't know that this is in the scripture, this is all the mindset. This is what wife material really is. And a woman that's wife material is going to have this mindset. A lot of women don't have this mindset, or a lot of women try to develop this mindset after they've experienced a lot. But then even then it don't be working, So it says, so that the word of the Most High will not be dishonored. Now I'm going to read this in the KJV, starting in verse 3. The aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as become holiness, not false accusers, not giving too much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, and the word of the Most High be not blasphemy. Now let me get discreet. Discreet, it says, careful and circumspect in one's speech or actions, especially in order to avoid causing offense or to gain an advantage. Intentionally unobtrusive. Right. Unobtrusive. So like it said, careful and circumspect in one's speech or actions. These women don't care what they say. They don't care what they say to you. And they don't care how it makes you feel or what it makes. They don't care about none of that. They don't care about how they act. They don't care about none of that. It ain't about you in their mind. It's about them. They don't have no filter. Again, women, you cannot just turn this off. And even during Jacob's trouble, these women' true intentions, their true nature is going to be exposed. That's why they won't be chosen. That's why they won't make it. A lot of women won't make it because they're not this type of woman. And their true nature will be exposed. It's going to all be through the spirit of Yahweh Shem Abashah. Now it says, especially in order to avoid causing offense or to gain an advantage. The vast majority of women are not discreet. And then I'm going to get chased. Okay. Chase. It says, abstaining from extramarital or from all sexual intercourse, not having a sexual nature or intention, without unnecessary ornamentation, simple or restrained. These women are not chaste either. A lot of women will have sex with somebody just because they're bored, or they'll have a little sex buddy or whatever, sneaky link. That's what they call it. just because they bored or just because they in the mood, this, that, and the third. These women are not wife material, you know, and they'll think it's okay. And then when they ready to try to settle down or ready to try to take somebody seriously, they think they can just tap into it, but you are already corrupt. That's why when a lot of men we date, you know, or a lot of men you date a woman, especially the so-called black woman, and things might start off a little good, but then after a while she start getting comfortable, her true nature starts to show, you know? Because you just think about it, why do all these women have to go through all these men to try to find a good and stable relationship if they supposed to be wife material? But then they turn around and tell you they want to be married. It don't work. It don't work that way. You wouldn't even, if they was wife material, some of the first men that they get with or men that they take seriously, the relationship would actually thrive and flourish and be productive. It would produce something. But these women are not in that mindset. Now, the other one that says, a virgin, maiden, unmarried, celibate. Women only get in this mindset of trying to be quote unquote celibate after they done had multiple partners, and out of all those multiple partners, they get disappointed that the relationship doesn't go anywhere and it doesn't do anything. So they try to turn off that mindset of wanting to have sex with someone or wanting to be with someone sexually. I even was talking to someone before who said, of course, women, they always try to green flag, red flag, this, that, and the third. And she gonna tell me, I got green flags everywhere, nothing but green flags. But I would have to wait on sex, this, that, and the third. And I already know why that is. The whole body count thing, because they can't bond with you. They done been in that situation so many times where they tried to bond with a man and they don't even know how to choose a man, and then the situation don't go nowhere. So then when they find a decent man, they can't bond with him. They can't be with him. But if they was trained up in the way they should go from birth or from the beginning, how it's supposed to be, none of this would exist. So it says to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, or a home keeper, a homemaker. This is all a skill set, a mindset. You just imagine a woman coming home every day and keeping the house or fixing up. Coming home every day and fixing up a house, keeping it clean, cooking for her man and making sure her man is comfortable before she really just makes sure she's straight. You may be lucky if you get one day out of it, because after a while it's gonna end. She might try to do it in the beginning because she want to make you feel comfortable, and when you start getting comfortable, that's when she gonna start getting comfortable and think that you'll be okay with her not doing it no more. But no. This is a lifelong, being a wife is a lifelong commitment. It's a lifelong job. And that's why the scriptures say, well, of course they say it in this word, to death do you part, but that's even in the scriptures. You required to do these duties as a wife, just like I'm required to do my duties as a husband until one of us pass away. So it's a lifelong commitment. And that's another thing that they don't consider, that they can't just tap into. So keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of Yahweh Shem shall be not blasphemed. So Lord will, this was an edifying lesson. And Lord will, this kind of, because it's really, even for myself, just to put us in that mindset of like, man, look, we very well may be put in situations where Isaiah 4:1 applies to you, or put in situations where you start experiencing Isaiah 4:1. And just because these women start to notice you and notice you to a level that you ain't never experienced before, because we have this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, don't mean that we just take them in just because. A lot of these women are not wife material. And remember, these women, we know the scriptures say that women gonna be saved in childbearing. That's another thing that they gonna have to consider. That if you try to get with this man, They very well may have to bear your children. You gotta think about it. Are these, these women, like the brother say, these women have to be vetted. You know, they have to be vetted, and it's all gonna be through the spirit, because we ain't just taking no anybody. Can't no any woman just make it, or can't no any woman just be with you, and that's how you should think too. If you are beloved of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua and highly favored, he's only gonna want you to have the best of the best. He ain't gonna want you to just be with no anything. And we shouldn't settle either. So, that's both exhortation for myself first and foremost, but also to brothers too. Beware of these women. And Lord will, it was edifying. So, and on the flip side, I'm gonna say this last thing for any women, sisters that may watch or come across it too. This should also be an encouragement also too, just to get you in the mindset to kind of, tighten up or whatever it is you need to work on. Actually, how about Shem Abushai to help you work on it, because there is no snapping into this when that time comes. Snapping into this mindset, just like we didn't just snap into being prophets or teachers of this word. We had to grow over time and become greater versions of ourselves. We have to grow. So it's the same thing, same process with women. It ain't no easier job for you just because you're a woman. You still have to change and you still have to grow as well. But Yahweh Shema Washai will highly favor you as well if you do make this change and do it in the right spirit. So Lord will, this is edifying. I want to give our praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushua, by Hashem Kakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the GMS, they rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to all the brothers out there pushing this word of sincerity and the truth. Shalom to the brothers, sisters, and children that are keeping this word of sincerity and the truth. Until next time, shalom.